Hello and welcome to Blitheway Business News. Today I'm joined by Andy Warne. Andy is Managing Director of National Milk Records. So Andy, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, I should say. For new viewers, give us a quick introduction to what is National Milk Records, please.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me back. Yeah, so National Milk Records, the clue is in the name. Milk, so we're very much involved. We're an integrated supplier in the UK dairy industry, customer bases, the processors, so the people who are buying the milk from the farmers, and we test all of the milk that's bought in the UK from all of the processors. So we get a sample of milk from every dairy farm every day, and we would test that for fat and protein and somatic cell count. These are the measures which determine how much the farmer gets paid. And we also would test it for antibiotics and any contaminants. And then we have a second revenue stream, which is the farmers themselves. And at that point, we're actually testing the milk from the individual cows. So we run a database, which means that in simple terms, we have the name and the pedigree of half of the dairy cows in the UK. We'd know them all by name, and we can tell the farmer how those cows are performing. So very much a service provider within the UK dairy industry.
And thanks to you, I guess, people buying milk every morning at their corner shop or every week at their supermarket, the quality of that milk is assured by the work that you and your team do.
Absolutely. So we would, as I say, we would be receiving a sample of milk from every single collection that there is from a dairy farm by a processor every day. So the samples arrive into the laboratory, and at the end of the day, and our job is to test them all. So we test a sample of milk from every dairy farm every night in order to provide the safety, but also the quality information back to the processor. So a dairy farmer, almost in the same way that he would check the weather every morning, he would check our app or a text from us to tell him how his milk was received from the previous day.
Okay, now on a financial operational level, you've just released your quarterly update today. So can you quickly give us a run through the highlights of that?
Okay, so this period obviously covers the COVID lockdown, and I don't know, maybe we should start calling it the first COVID lockdown. Our payment testing, our disease testing services, effectively were not affected by COVID. But in order to run the farmer-facing milk recording business, we have 400 field technicians who are based around the country who take samples of milk from individual cows. And right at the start of the COVID lockdown, there was lots of churn in that. If you can imagine 400 people roaming around the country in terms of social distancing and staying at home. So for two, 3 weeks, we were running at about 70 or 80% of our capacity, and slowly but surely we have got that back up to what we would call the normal. Defining what new normal is. But this quarterly update gives investors just a view of what happened during COVID, the COVID lockdown. What everybody's looking for is the annual report. This is the final quarter of the financial year, so it's very much a sort of a preliminary sort of view of what might be happening in the annual report, which we'll be publishing in October.
So it's something to look out for in October.
Absolutely.
I've got to say, I love the use of the word churn in relation to milk.
Yeah.
At the start of lockdown, there were various reports in the media about milk being wasted, or there was wastage in the industry because of the COVID restrictions. I mean, how has the industry as a whole reacted to COVID?
it really annoyed me the way that the dairy industry was covered, particularly by the BBC. The fact is that 10% of the milk goes into what we call the services sector, which is the Costa Coffees and the Starbucks and restaurants and whatever. So 10% of the milk in the UK, that supply chain was closed off overnight. So boof, it just disappeared. Now, it took the industry, and at the same time, the retailers were looking at something like a 40% increase in the demand for milk going through the supermarkets. Now, that's quite a shock, and so it took a little bit of time to a matter of hours and days to rebalance those supply chains, because suddenly milk's in the wrong place, because the processor who is sticking milk into plastic bags to sell to a coffee outlet suddenly is that milk needs to be at somebody who's putting milk into poly bottles to sell to a supermarket. So in 1 week, 0.6% of the milk was wasted. 1 week, 0.6% of the milk was wasted. But the BBC decided to turn up and film it being tipped down the drain. So utter nonsense.
Utter nonsense. No, that's good.
Utter nonsense.
Good to know. One of the issues very important in the whole food industry is food provenance. Could you just talk us through, please, what that means for National Milk Records and why it's important for you?
It's a very exciting place now. So it goes a little bit back to the horse meat scandal, when obviously horse meat beef supply got nothing to do with National Milk Records or dairy, but suddenly people woke up to the fact that they didn't know what they were eating. So they're buying a lasagna and they're sort of thinking, is this beef or is this horse? And so from that moment on, people are just, well, I'd like to know where my food comes from, please. Perfectly simple request. But we're right in the heart of that, because we're, people have talk about blockchain, and they talk about all sorts of, if you like, sort of data flows within the supply chain. But we have all of the dairy farmers on our database in terms of, we're receiving a sample of milk from every dairy farm every day. We can then track that back with half of them to actually say this milk came from that individual cow, and we know the name and number of that cow. And we've also tested the bulk milk on that farm. So in terms of providing dairy provenance to the UK public, we're really well positioned to do that. I mean, just from my own personal view, I remember, we're starting to travel around a little bit more. If I go into a supermarket, go into a garage and buy a sandwich, I'm going to have a cheese and pickle sandwich, because I know where that cheese come from. Now, I don't personally think well, where did that prawn come from? Where did the chicken come from? Oh, I'm not sure, but I feel confident that I know where the cheese came from in my cheese and pickle sandwich.
Excellent. Okay. Finally, I mean, I'm assuming that National Milk Records is growing. You're in a growth phase. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And because of that, you're making investments into technology. What should we be looking for from National Milk Records in the coming weeks and months?
I mean, in terms of our growth, it's what are we going to do in years 1, 2, and 3 from here, which is what you need to be looking for. And in simple terms, we were saying, well, 50% of the dairy cows in the UK are on our database, and that helps in terms of food provenance. Well, in terms of growth, well, what about the other 50%? So we believe that in our core business, in our core milk recording business, in our core payment testing business, selling testing to processors, there's room for growth. Now that means that yes, we're taking new investments. Yes, we are driving technology in order to help us improve our market share in both those sectors. But because it's existing customers and effectively the value chain that we're exploiting with our new technology is known to us. The risk in terms of us not delivering our growth plan is quite low. So we believe if you're looking for NMR as an investment, it's a business model which we really do understand, and we are really well placed to capitalize on that. And we believe the market is moving towards us simply because people are interested in where their food is coming from in the future.
And as you said earlier, it's not just the milk, it's the cheese that's made from the milk, it's the butter that's made from the milk, it's all of those dairy products which are based in milk, I guess.
Absolutely, and we haven't mentioned the B word yet. Before COVID, the one thing that we were all worried about was Brexit, and we're so the UK is a net importer of. It's physically impossible to import liquid milk simply because it's too difficult to move. But things like cheese and butter, that is, we are a net importer of that. Now, when we look at the Brexit, whether it's deal or no deal, whichever way that goes, do we have a trade agreement or do we not have a trade agreement come 1st of January? Almost certainly the answer is going to be a little bit in the middle, isn't it? But in either scenario, we believe the UK dairy industry is well placed to capitalise on Brexit as a thing, and so we believe the not only does the marketplace want more of the services that we can provide, we believe the marketplace overall is certainly Brexit proof, but we think it will be positive for Brexit.
That was Andy Warne, Managing Director of National Milk Records. National Milk Records is traded on the Aquis market, and it sounds like they're heading for very exciting times as the milk industry in this country continues to grow and National Milk Records continues to grow with it. That's all from Blytheway Business News. Thank you for watching.